His cradle rocked in Corusladini on the Great Plain. The grave at the foot of Monte Pellegrino in Palermo now covers him. His life's journey, winding through capricious twists and turns between beginning and end, was, so to speak, one continuous struggle for freedom. At first, he studied in Nijivarad with the aim of eventually entering public service. But the struggle for freedom diverted him from his civilian path and turned him into a soldier. He fought in the troops against the rebellious Serbs as a National Guard from Bihor, then enlisted in the Hungarian army and fought throughout the Transylvanian campaign in the ranks of the 55th Battalion. When the superior Russian forces pushed the small Hungarian garrison at the Vorostorny Pass back into Turkey, where he had served as an assistant officer to Commander Daniel Ihas in the role of Chief of Staff, he too was exiled. Even then, Tüköry did not return to civilian life as did most of our refugees in Turkey, but instead joined the Turkish army and, under the name Selim, became a first lieutenant in the 3rd Turkish Cavalry Regiment in Damascus. He soon found himself back on the battlefield when the Crimean War broke out, a conflict that, according to an English historian, was made inevitable by the outrage in Europe caused by Russia's intervention in the Hungarian War of Independence. He took part in the siege of Kars alongside his former comrade in arms from the Hungarian army, on the main flank of Kmiti's sub-camp, serving as his aide-de-camp. He was wounded during the siege and, in recognition of his service, was awarded the rank of Major and the Order of Medjid. Tüköry was bedridden for a long time in Constantinople with a gunshot wound to his left arm, but as soon as the war broke out in 1859 between Sardinia, supported by Austria and France, and the Ottoman Empire, he requested his discharge from the Turkish army and hurried to Italy. The Hungarian Legion was still being organized when Lajos Tüköry arrived on the battlefield. He therefore joined Garibaldi's volunteers, and among the ranks of the famous Alpine hunters, the Cacciatori delle Alpi, he always fought at the very forefront. However, upon hearing news of Prussia's preparations, Napoleon left the liberation of Austria and Italy unfinished and made peace with Austria without taking a single step on behalf of Hungary. Tüköry, hoping the war would resume, took command of the 4th Battalion of the Hungarian Auxiliary Army. Fourth Battalion of the Hungarian Auxiliary Army in vain. The Legion had to be disbanded shortly thereafter. Tüköry then joined the Italian army in the hope that the Hungarian cause could still be incorporated into the conflict between Italy and Austria. When Garibaldi took up arms to liberate Sicily and arrived on the island, Tüköry was among the 1,000 freedom fighters who landed at Marsa, serving as one of Garibaldi's aide-de-camps. Facing the overwhelming might of the royal armies, the small force captured the island's capital, Palermo, whereupon virtually all of Sicily was liberated. During the siege, however, Tüköry fell. He was leading the vanguard against Porta Termini when he was shot in the left thigh. "Forward! Forward!" he shouted to his soldiers, who wanted to carry him back. Instead, "Stop the enemy from advancing here." When the city was finally taken, Tüköry was taken to the palace of the Prince of San Lorenzo, Tommaso Oneto. He did not utter a single cry of pain, nor did he let out a single sigh. Indeed, he declared himself happy to have fallen for the cause of freedom. He hoped to return to the battlefield shortly and, together with Garibaldi, march all the way to Hungary. The most distinguished ladies of Palermo cared for him with the utmost devotion. It was to no avail. Even the amputation could not save him. He was dead by the 14th day. Garibaldi paid eternal tribute to Colonel Tüköry in a magnificent daily order and christened the first Bourbon warship that had sided with him in his honor. His funeral was truly an apotheosis. At the head of the procession, instead of a mourning flag, a friend carried a green, white, red flag through the city decked with flags, where, at every street corner, Garibaldi's portrait stood alongside that of the island's patron saint, Saint Rosalia. His comrades carried the coffin, accompanied by the entire army in red uniforms and the whole of Palermo, to the church of Sant'Antonio, where he was laid to rest. The Hungarians were represented at the memorial service for the 1000 of Marsala by István Tür and Lajos Szagi. The fourth Hungarian among the 1000, Antal Goldberg, lay gravely wounded in a Palermo hospital. Palermo's gratitude toward Tüköry, who gave his young life for the city's salvation, is boundless. Tüköry was the first to be honored by having one of the city's streets named after him. The artillery barracks in Palermo also bear his name. The house where he died was marked with a commemorative plaque. On the 50th anniversary of the Marsala 1000, however, the city had his remains exhumed and carried in a new triumphal procession to its main church, San Domenico. Most recently, they were permanently interred in the church's transept, and a tomb was commissioned for him by Ferraro. There, Tüköry's remains now rest beneath the shady arches of the church's courtyard portico, which bears the name Atrio della Storia Patria, or the Hall of Italian History. Above his grave, on a marble plaque set into the floor, his name is inscribed in Italian, Luigi Tüköry. His tomb bears the Italian inscription by the Sicilian poet La Scuola. The people of Palermo refer to him as nothing other than Il nostro Tüköry, our Tüköry.